The Daleks was broadcast in 7 weekly parts from December 21st to February 1st, 1964. If you'll remember our cliffhanger from last time, it's not reading normal! They're gonna get irradiated. The four walk out into a petrified forest. Susan finds a flower while Barbara, the harbinger of death, finds yet another lifeless animal. But the doctor says, "Listen here, Chesterfield. This creature's made of metal," which somehow confirms that we're not on a futuristic Earth. Aw, our first intergalactic adventure together. Ian finds a large city in the distance, but there's still no sign of life. The doctor desperately wants to explore it, but the others not so much. Heading back to the TARDIS, Susan stops to pick up another flower when she gets lost, hears strange noises, and is touched by somebody unseen. She makes it back just in time for Ian and Barbara to enjoy Gallifreyan Hot Pockets when there's a knock on the TARDIS door. There's nobody on the scanner, but Susan and the humans are about to pee their pants, so the doctor pretends to try and dematerialize. He sabotages the fluid link on the center console right in front of their eyes, and then goes, "Wow, oh shucks, I can't believe this is out of juice. We better go to that abandoned city for some mercury. I'm sure they have tons of mercury lying around, right?" Outside the TARDIS, they find a box of glass vials. Susan puts them away and they head off to the city. They split up to search a building, and in a terrifying sequence, Barbara gets trapped in a maze until she's cornered by something with a plunger. Ian, the Doc, and Susan went back up, and they go looking for Barbara. They find a recently used lab where a Geiger counter tells them they've been exposed to radiation the whole time, explaining the doctor's fatigue and their overall sweatiness. "We need drugs," says the doctor, knowing they have to go somewhere more civilized, revealing that he sabotaged the fluid link himself, and that they can leave any time. The Doc's ready to leave Barbara behind, but Ian has the fluid link, and he demands they find her first. They're then captured by a group of pudgy robots with plungers and eye stalks, who paralyze Ian when he tries to escape. They're thrown in a room with Barbara, who wonders if perhaps these robots are alive, a thought that makes Susan laugh like an asshole. The robots seem to think the four of them are Thals, a race who lives outside the city and somehow tolerate the radiation. The robots explain that the two races on the planet, the Thals and themselves, the Daleks, fought in a neutronic war 500 years ago. The Daleks stay alive in their machines, meaning Barbara was right, so fuck you, Susan. And while most Thals died out, some have survived with drugs. As the doctor explains to his companions, "The vial of drugs left outside the TARDIS, remember? It's possible that they may have been anti-radiation gloves. Drugs." They strike a deal with the Daleks to send one of them back to the TARDIS to get the drugs. The Doc and Barbara are sick, and Ian still can't walk, so Susan must go alone. Susan is followed through the jungle by someone disguised as a tree trunk, until she finally reaches the TARDIS. As she exits the ship with drugs in hand, the tree trunk guy, Aladdin, a Thal, reveals himself to her as the one who tapped her on the shoulder the day before and left the drugs. The Thals are near starvation, and through Susan they ask the Daleks for help. Aladdin discusses this with the Thal leader. There's some odd sexist remarks, and regarding Susan's age, Aladdin says, "No longer a child, not yet a woman. All I need is time, a moment that is mine, while I'm in between." Susan writes a treaty for the Daleks to give to the Thals, telling them to come to the city tomorrow for food. The companions deduce that the Daleks are basically static electricity-powered bumper cars that run on metal floors. They blind a Dalek and throw it onto a cloak, which powers it down. They throw the creature inside out of the robot body. We only get to see a creepy little claw. And Ian hops in, escorting the other three as his prisoners. The Daleks quickly catch on to Ian's disguise, and he barely gets out of the body with his life. The Thals, meanwhile, have arrived to collect their food. Aladdin doesn't trust them, but the leader assures him that his suspicions are based on fear. Fear leads to hatred and war. "Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering." The companions finally make it out of the building, but send Ian back in to stop the Thals from walking into a trap while the others head for the TARDIS. Ian arrives just in time for the Daleks to kill the Thal leader, but the others escape. The companions and Thals rendezvous in the jungle, where the Doctor learns that they are on the planet Skaro, once inhabited by Thals and Dals, which later mutated into the modern Dalek. Ian fails to convince the Thals that they must abandon pacifism and be the great warriors they once were. The Doctor says, "Hey, Let's not worry about other people's problems and go home. They agree, but Ian quickly realizes he doesn't have the fluid link. The Daleks took it from him. The Doctor and Barbara know they have to get the Thals to fight the Daleks in order to get the fluid link back. Ian, knowing this is fucked up, refuses to have a bunch of Thal blood on his hands just so the companions can escape. Then he does a total of 180 and finally gets Aladdin to punch him in the face after threatening to trade his girlfriend and the Thal history records to the Daleks for the fluid link. Oh yeah, I knew there was some fight in you. Meanwhile, the Daleks have duplicated the anti-radiation drugs given to Susan by the Thals. The first Daleks they give it to, however, go haywire.
Help! Help me!
They deduce that they actually thrive on radiation now, but the radiation levels on the planet have been dropping, so best course of action is to repollute everything. Aladdin and the Thals decide to help the companions, and they split into two groups. One to distract the Daleks head on, and another to sneak around the back through the treacherous swamp. Ian and Barbara follow a party of Thals through the swamp, and one guy trying to get water is sucked into the river by something. There's a lot of padding in this episode, and it's somehow the longest in the serial. Barbara, still incompetent, drops the Thal hanging by rope down a 30-foot hole. But hey, he finds a passage down there, so it's all good. The Doctor and Susan sabotage some control panel in the city extremely slowly, which gets them recaptured. The Ian and Barbara party have to jump over a tiny-looking chasm in a cave, and it's played out for over 9 minutes, trying to make this little hop look menacing. They all make it until the last guy, who's been itching to turn back and go home the whole time, jumps and is pushed off the ledge by Ian. I swear to God, I'm not joking. Go back and look at it frame by frame. This guy makes it, and Ian just pushes him right off. I swear. It's incredible. Ian is tied around the other end of the rope this guy is hanging for dear life onto, and nearly falls himself. Ian basically tells the guy to just kill himself already, so he obliges and falls to his death. They eventually break through a wall and are miraculously inside the city. The Doctor, meanwhile, tells the Daleks about the TARDIS and offers to help them make their own. They say, "Okay, cool. We'll get to that without you after we kill everybody. We have your fluid link anyway." The Daleks detect the Thals running around their building now. Broke last week's record. And start counting down to launch the radiation. Incredibly slowly. Like 1 second every 3 real-life seconds. Ian, Barbara, and the Thals succeed in freeing the Doc and Susan, and they cut off the Dalek power supply to shut them all down and stop the countdown. The Doctor tells the Thals the remaining radiation will be gone soon. Barbara kisses some guy, and then they leave. On board the ship, there's loud noises, the lights go out, the 4 fall over, and that's it. Phew! What a serial. Pretty long, some crazy padding. The 6th episode is entirely skippable, really. The last episode has a lot of padding too, but at least it's suspenseful padding. Thus is the nature of the show, though. It's certainly not known for being fast-paced. The first few episodes are really great, definitely watch them. The Daleks' introduction is definitely one of the show's most defining moments, and it's the first serial to really stick to the classic Who formula of alien planet, meet bad monsters, meet good humanoids, help good guys beat bad guys. Some of the cave sets look terrible, and there's goofy cardboard cutouts of Daleks in the background, but it's so iconic to the show, and at least generally enjoyable, that I have to recommend it, if not just barely. Like, subscribe, comment, support if you can. Thanks for your time and space. This is Bob Boddingham, dematerializing. Alright,